You're watching 16 News Now Digital Plus's 16 Sports Extra, brought to you by Gates Automotive.
Welcome into the 16 Sports Extra podcast. I'm Jack Neill here from WNDU with Austin Hough from the South Bend Tribune.
What's up?
It's state championship week, Austin.
Yeah, baby. First off, Sabrina's on vacation.
Yeah, she's on vacation. It's Thanksgiving week. We do, have to get back to see our family. So Sabrina is back home.
We don't have to see, family.
Yeah, we don't have to.
It's recommended, though.
It is recommended.
Yeah.
Some of us, like to stay here and talk about some high school football.
We're dedicated to the game, man.
Exactly.
We're at week 15 of 15. I can't give up now. Is
that how many weeks?
It's 15 weeks. If you go if you go Indiana, 9 regular season weeks, and the 6 playoff games, you have to win if you're in 1A through 4A. It's week 14 of 14 for Michigan, but week 15 of 15 overall in Indiana. So this is it, baby. We've reached the end.
We've reached the end,
This is it.
There's a couple teams. There's several teams to talk about. 3
specifically that will be playing for the biggest trophy each state hands out on Friday and Saturday.
Incredible. Just incredible to think that, going into a season, you always hope for at least one local school to make it, maybe 2. To have 3, it feels pretty good sitting here right now.
And 2 in each state, depending on what your definition of the Michiana area is, I believe this would be, this is the first time in a while that I can think of where we've had 1 in each state go in the same year. We've had, obviously teams go over in Indiana almost every year, and Edwardsburg in Michigan, went in 2018 and 2017. They won it in 18, but to have, I don't remember if an Indiana team from this area went in 2018. So to have, 1 in Michigan and 2 in Indiana, again, depending on how you judge Michiana, what your definition of lines are, even regardless, just this a general area, to get two in both states to go is really cool. So we'll talk about it all right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it all right now. We're going to break them all down.
Excuse me.
And all good. And then Austin, honestly, with all these games going on, where do you want to start? Because you were at a couple different spots this past weekend.
Yeah, let's start in Michigan. We always start in Indiana.
I like that.
Can we start in Michigan?
I'm down for that.
Can we give Scott Shaw and Niles Vikings their flowers for dropping 62 on Grand Rapids South Christian? Look, when we talked about this game last week, I thought it would be a pretty good game. I knew it was going to be close, and it felt competitive, but I believe 92 total points is the most I've ever seen in a high school football game that I have covered personally. 62-30 was the final score. What an incredible effort by the Vikings. And it was a little nervous early on, man. They fumbled on their first drive. Grand Rapids gets the ball. They march right down the field, 27-yard touchdown run. Less than 4 minutes in, it's 7-0 Sailors, and you're like, is Niles over their head? This is too big of a class, right? Now you're playing a big boy. There's a difference. No offense to Paw and Edwardsburg, and this is now a step up. You're playing a big boy school that's been there before, that has this pedigree. And they just didn't stop the rest of the way. I don't know how to describe it. Biggest play of the game, biggest play of the season, maybe Sam Rucker's kickoff return. It was 16-14. Rucker, who had he got injured during the game. He had a Charlie horse. When he first went down, I think everyone's worst thoughts went in their mind, ACL, something crazy. He's never playing again. This is a bummer. The next time he touched the ball, a 91-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, made it 22-14. Niles did not have their kicker available for a Saturday afternoon. He was concussed, and I think it was the injury they said. So they went for 2 every touchdown. They were 7 of 8 on 2-point conversions. It's crazy.
Incredible.
Grand Rapids should know it's coming, at some point, right?
Exactly.
They're going to run the ball. They're not going to, especially at the 3-yard line, they're not going to pull any tricks usually. They did throw 1. They threw 1 2-point conversion. But other than that, Rucker returns that kickoff. They scored 22 points then total in the final 6 minutes of the half. It was 38-14 at the break. They get a stop, turnover on downs. First drive of the second half, and then they take the ball and go right back down and go up 46-14. And at that point, it was this is probably over. South Christian made it kind of sort of interesting. They got a touchdown, and then they got a turnover, and it was here we go again. We're nervous, but they were up 24 at that point, so it's hard to be super nervous.
Exactly.
Got another stop after that, scored again. 62, man. We talked about all year their high-power offense, but to do it against a team of that caliber, put up 62, It's the most points that Grand Rapids South Christian has ever given up in their program's history.
Wow.
I saw. So shout out whoever looked up that stat. I should have given you some credit for that, but I did not find that. But it was incredible, man. I know I'm rambling a lot here, but you were watching Notre Dame Army. You know,
yes,
Saturday.
Just a heads up for our viewers that I was in New York City for the Notre Dame game.
Yeah,
so Austin was at the.
I'm carrying the conversation
exactly.
Here.
So Austin is our expert today on these. But
we talked about we talked about a little bit the divine intervention of the stars aligning, being at Three Rivers, and Scott Shaw and everything that he meant to that school. And first ever playoff game, he lost to Grand Rapids South Christian, and he hadn't actually coached against them since then. So it was all written in the stars for Niles to win that game, and sure enough, they did, and they did it convincingly. And for the first time ever, they will play for a state championship. It's really cool, man.
And I mean, my biggest takeaway from just seeing the highlights, from just hearing you talk about it, seeing the box score, things like that, it just almost makes me want to ask you a question. Actually, and when it comes to it, is every time I've seen Niles, every time I've covered them, talk with this team, it's just such a high-powered offense. Have you ever seen a high school team? Because you've been covering this area for several years now.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a high school team that runs the triple option that is this high-powered of an offense? Because whenever we talk about the triple option, we always talk about the Armies, the Navies, like, okay, hold on to the football. But Niles, I mean, every single time they play, it's like they're putting up 60-some points.
Yeah.
Low-scoring game against Portland, 37 points. This team is one of the most high-powered offenses, yet they're running a type of offense that usually we associate with ball control, just time management.
Right. That's a great question. So kudos to you for that. Off the top of my head, no. And I wonder if it's like a combination of like a couple things. So I mean, just specifically this year, they scored 8 points in their opener. They were shorthanded a little bit that day. Since then, the lowest point total was 21. They scored 21 in 3 different games, twice against Edwardsburg.
Of course.
But 49, 50s, 62, now they've done 62 twice.
It's a crazy number to do twice.
So it looked like a basketball score on Saturday. 62-30. It was like, dang, they really 2-3 zoned them into a submission or something.
I thought the boys basketball wasn't starting until this week.
Today. This week. But I think it's a combination of them being very talented, obviously. Then they've had kids run this offense for 3 years, like not just in practice. Like these are kids that have started. Sam Rucker 4 years, Paul Hess 4 years. Talon Bennett's a first-year starting quarterback, but he was in that offense, growing up in it, last 4 years in it. Peyton Gordon, multi-year starter in it. So, like, these are guys that have done this for a long time. They've got the guys up front to do it as well, the experienced guys up front to play as well. And, there's conference outside of, like, Paw and Edwardsburg the last, 2 years has not been stellar. So they've been able to do 50-0, 52-0 against, Sturgis and Three Rivers and those types of teams because, the competition hasn't been super great. Now, they have more than validated it in the playoffs this year. I mean, they put up 42 on Paw, the playoff game. They put up 37 last week, 60 or 2 weeks ago, 62 this week. I couldn't believe that. The entire drive home, I'm like, they scored 62 points.
It's incredible.
62-30. That was the final score of this game? Like, that was crazy. So, as far as, like, triple option, I don't think I've seen any team do it at this high power level as far as scoring points. But, again, I think it's a combination of, like, their competition has been super great at times. And this year they have all these experienced guys who've done it for 3 years where, like, it's so fine-tuned for them now that they can go out there and put up 40, 50 points with ease. And, you got to have a great defense to get the ball back for you too. So, because it is still a clock control, offense. Like some of those touchdown drives were 5-6 minutes, but they would also they had 2 interceptions. They had a couple turnovers on downs that gave them short fields. Like you got to have that defensive element. I think that kind of gets overshadowed with the offense, but their defense, even though they've given up 34 and 30 the last 2 weeks, like they're playing well. They're playing opportunistic football, right? Like, right after Rutgers' big kickoff return, 2 plays later, they deflect the pass and intercept it. And then they go, they only had 30 yards to go and they get in and they score. Like, but even then that was a, 4-minute drive that went 30 yards. It took a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say yes, it is the best offense, triple option offense I've seen as far as producing points. I believe they're at like 510 points this year or something.
That sounds about right.
It's a crazy, I did the math. yesterday, Sunday for a story, and then it's publishing on Tuesday, and I can't look it up. So if you were listening, like, this is live. We're taping Monday, but
yeah, of course.
So sorry for anyone who was looking for that number, but they have averaged 44 points a game in this 12-game winning streak, and they've only allowed 8.8 per game in this winning streak, these last 12 games.
Of course, yeah, and it's just like that's the thing is that it's the combination with that defense as well, because I think you mentioned they scored 21.3 times, 2 of them coming up against Edwardsburg, another team that likes to control the ball as well.
Right.
And that's another thing I wanted to kind of get to is that they have this high-powered offense. We don't see this with triple option teams, but it shouldn't get lost that they can also win how you'd expect ball control offense would win, like that 21-0 win over Edwardsburg. It's like that's what makes this Niles team so tough, is that no matter what type of game they kind of get into, it seems like they have an answer for it.
Yes, this is I 100% agree. So we're going to find out, I guess, for real, right? Because now we get to play the state championship. I believe this is the first opponent for Niles in this run, though, that was quote-unquote better than them in the regular season. So they're playing Goodrich, 12:30 p.m. Friday at Ford Field in Detroit. All the game particulars there for you. You got to buy $20 for a ticket, but they get you to all 4 games.
Okay.
So it's weird where like they don't have it per game. They just have one general admission ticket. Obviously, like I'm guessing like the fans of the first game will move out of like the main seats to let the Niles people get the main seats, during their game, and then Niles fans will move out obviously and be respectful for that. But like, yeah, it's $20 gets you to 4 games, which is not a bad bargain. Yeah. But also if you're only going for 1 game, it's kind of it's a little pricey.
A little pricey for high school.
I guess we're staying for the Division 6 game no matter what.
Yeah, I guess you just with that kind of pricing, just sit there.
Let the plows take care of the snow on the streets for a little bit. It's supposed to snow on Friday, so that's great. They got us indoors.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so Goodrich also lost their first game this season, have won 12 in a row since.
Yep.
You look at their schedule, they have very similar scores to Niles, where they kind of obliterated a lot of people. Goodrich, their first 9 games of this 12-game winning streak they were on, they were all wins by like 25-plus points.
Scoring 42 points, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, and the other week was 49 and 48.
Yeah, so they had a playoff, they had a close one in the playoffs. Their district championship game was a 6-point game, just like Niles' 3-point regional game with Portland. So they both have played a tight game in the last couple weeks. They won, it was 28-14 in the semifinal against Harper Woods, but that was a game they were up 21-0 in, and then they were up 28-7 at early in the fourth. They had a pick 6. Chase Burnett had 3 rushing touchdowns. They forced 4 turnovers on Harper Woods. Burnett had a pick, I believe, and then there was 2 other forced fumble recoveries. So they're a really well-rounded team. Obviously, they have to be here, and they've won 12 in a row. They are very starved for a championship. They were the runner-up at the state finals in 2022. They were in the Final Four last year. So this is a program that has been knocking on the door for the last couple of years. But they have not won a state title either, just like Niles. So this is we are guaranteed a first-time state champion,
that's so fun.
Which is always the best. Like, no matter what, a community is going to be like really happy. Goodrich is about an hour north of Detroit, so it's a little bit of a shorter drive for them. 2 hours actually less driving for them than Niles, but maybe 2.5. Anyway, so it should be a great game. I mean, I don't really know what to expect. It looks like, if you're going to base it, all I know really of Goodrich is what they did in the semifinal game. They don't have stats online. They don't have anything like that, but they ran for over 200 yards of their 235 yards of offense were on the ground. So feels like they are a run heavy team, just like Niles. Niles had 425 yards rushing on Saturday.
It's ridiculous.
9 yards passing, which went for a touchdown. So
I mean,
that was kind of cool.
That's the thing about Niles. It's like if they are going to pass the football, it is very effective. Like it's and that went over
Portland, the game-winning touchdown.
Exactly. Like they converted a long 4th down. It's just like when they do complete a pass, they don't complete many, but it's in an important spot.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like it I'm sure Goodrich is thinking like the same thing of like it feels like it's their time, right? Like I feel like going like Niles, it just feels like this is all crescendoing into this big moment for them. But I'm sure, like I said, Goodrich is thinking that too. This is their 3rd time trying to get get the trophy, the big trophy, and they've been so close. And Niles was close last year too. Obviously, like they almost beat Portland. They almost got to the semifinals. So they've been on a very similar redemption type path to get back to the try to get the spot and win. It should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there making the long trek to Detroit. Got to leave by like 8:30 a.m. Friday morning to get there for the 12:30 kickoff. But it's a good excuse to go visit Detroit for the first time. So
there you go. Yeah.
And it should be a good game. Like I said, I think I don't know, just triple option is such a great offense where, like, if you don't see it, like if Goodrich hasn't seen it, and especially at the level that Niles runs it at, that could be a huge advantage. If it helps overcome some talent deficiencies to where, like, if you're even with the team or even that team is slightly above you, you can get away. You can maybe beat them because of that way the offense is ran. Where,
of course,
not Goodrich will have to kind of definitively be the better team.
Yes,
in my opinion, to like beat Niles. So, are they that team? I don't know. I haven't seen enough on them. Just a couple stats from the game last week, but it should be a great game. Yeah,
that one's just so exciting, and it does feel like a team of destiny, right? For Niles, like that kind of season.
Yeah, and one last note. Sorry to cut you off. Didn't mean to cut you off, but the community, like I went up there Monday morning. I was doing a bunch of interviews with people around town, talking to people. This is a great, like, this whole community has been, like, immersed with this team. We talked about the crowds all the time at the games. I actually talked to the guy that coordinates some of the noise today.
Yeah, you did?
So, look out for him in the story.
Loud noises.
He's the one running the board. He's a Packers fan, so that's why you do the Go Vikes Go games.
Yep, okay.
That's the only regret. But, it was great, man. He was a fun guy to talk to. But there's, like, so many people that are – that work in Niles, that went to Niles, that played football or went to the school and played other sports or had their sons or their grandsons playing. Almost all the signs, all the businesses downtown have like signs in them, like the coffee shops and there's a Radio Shack in downtown Niles. I learned that today.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God. I was like, Radio Shack, all right. Like,
it's open, right?
You could. Yeah, it was legit Radio Shack.
I might have to go to that. I don't even remember the last time I was at a Radio Shack.
It's got to be at least 10, 15 years at least.
Yeah.
But, not just Niles High School, but Brandywine in the winter with their basketball teams. Like, this has been maybe the best calendar year of Niles City athletics ever. Like with this, and especially if this Niles football team caps it off on Friday with the state championship. I mean, it'd be insane.
And I mean, we saw with the Brandywine, like the community support for that,
it was
and
insane.
Like it's such like. That's one of the things I love about high school sports in particular is like when you see these communities really just embrace their teams as they make these runs. And I think Niles is showing that in a way that it's very special. Like, of course, communities always embrace their teams when they go on these runs. Of course, that always happens. But I think with Niles, like, we talked about the crowd. I mean, still one of the best, if not the best high school football crowd I've ever seen for a game. They really seem to just take it up to the highest level, and they really just support their team in a way that it's just special.
Yeah, just one note on that too. It's always, I think, extra special in my mind when it's a team that hasn't done this before.
Of course.
Like, it's cool when like if Penn football had made a run. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't have been cool. Like, it still would have been cool, but like Niles has literally never done this. Like Paul Hess after the game on Saturday was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel, basically.
It's like this.
Like, what am I? We've never done this. Like, we don't know. No one knows how to react. Like,
Scott Shaw
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, Scott Shaw can't call up like the 1995 champion. Right. He can't for those programs like a program like Penn, if they made the state championship, they could call up the winners of some previous state winners and kind of. Niles, this is uncharted territory. This is history.
The current Niles athletic director, Matt Brawley, he told me today, Monday, for the timeline people who maybe aren't watching it. He said to me on Monday that he won as many games playing for Niles in like 3 years as his son has done in the last month. His son's the starting left guard, and they've won 4 games in like November. He won 4 games total in his high school career. So
incredible.
It's literally just like something that people never thought could happen at Niles, a football run like this. They've been decent in other sports. They've made long runs. Softball, I believe, won a state title in 2009, but like to do this in football, I don't think anyone thought this was possible. Give Scott Shaw all the money. Like, make him the mayor of Niles if they win this game.
Yeah, he's coming.
He's coming for Nick Shelton's job. Sorry. But okay. We talked about Niles enough.
Of course, that game's coming up on Friday at 12:30 at Ford Field in Detroit. I mean,
we'll have all the info you need to know for this game. Stop and Tribune by Tuesday, in the newspaper Tuesday as well. So,
and just one thing, a little side note too, as we talk about these games, I just love the fact that they're in these NFL stadiums. It's another really special thing. It's just going to be so
it's really cool, man. Like Indianapolis,
cool.
the Colts and the Lions being able to host these things are really awesome, man.
It's so cool. I mean, like there's, I was previously in New York State, and they did it at Syracuse's their football stadium.
Carrier Dome,
the Carrier Dome, and that was pretty cool. But I mean, there's something kind of special about playing in the NFL stadium.
There's no NFL stadiums. I guess Buffalo. You could have gone to Buffalo. I was gonna make a joke about the Jets and the Giants, but
no one wants to go to Buffalo.
Buffalo in early December for the state title. You tell me 20-degree games aren't on your.
If you could get there through all the snow.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's go to Indiana, and I say let's start with Warsaw. I want to talk with them because
let's do it.
This is legitimately just I have no idea how this happened. This has been one of the craziest runs I think I've seen in high school football, considering who they've had to go against, who they've had to beat, and how they've done it.
Number 1 Concord, number 3 Lafayette Jeff, number 2 Maryville.
Yep.
All done.
Yep.
Crazy. And when we were talking about this 5 weeks ago about Concord, we were sitting here
like,
if Concord's going to go to state, they're going to earn this because they're going to be a good Warsaw team, and then number 3 Lafayette Jeff, number 2 Maryville. Well, Warsaw beat Concord, and then Warsaw went out and beat number 3, Jeff, and number 2 Maryville. So, I mean, Bart Ball is alive and well, baby. This is, shout out, like, Drew Sullivan was injured, for a little bit during the season, and he comes back, and he's had an incredible postseason. He had 2 rushing touchdowns Friday against Maryville. Michigan playing on Saturday, threw my brain off. What days actually people played this week? They had a great defensive. They had 4 turnovers in this game against Maryville. I just want to mention the big one was I'm trying to pull up the name so I don't mess it up. Hold on one second. If I can read it. Cohen Heedy. It was 16-14 at the time. Cohen Heedy had a pick 6, made it 23-14 third quarter. That, ultimately changed the entire game. They won that game pretty much because of that play. And then they added another late touchdown to win 31-14. So, Warsaw, another school, like 10 wins. They've had 10 wins. It's tied for the most in a season in school history.
Wow.
With the 1964 and the 2001 teams. And so those teams didn't win sectional championships. Their first ever sectional came in 2019. So those were like 9-0 teams in the regular season that won a playoff game and then lost in the sectional final or something like that. And so they actually beat Maryville, whose head coach, Brad Cease, was a star player on that 2001 Warsaw team.
Oh, that's kind of funny, yeah.
Not a poetic thing, I don't know. It was like not like stabbing your alumni in the back, but like, sorry,
sorry about that.
Yeah, we're going to just beat you, sorry. Sorry, Brad. And so I'm sure Brad's obviously devastated that Maryville lost, but maybe he has a moment this week to kind of be like, this is cool for my alma mater, Maybe he'll go to the game on Saturday. So they will be the last game of the season in Indiana high school football. Warsaw, Decatur Central, the 5A championship game Saturday night. They will be the last game of the season. People talk about playing in the last game of the season. They are literally the last game of the season. Just how that schedule works out this year. Decatur Central, obviously a great team. They're the lowest ranked team they've played in. So they are ranked number 4, by the way. So if Warsaw wants to win the state title, they will be number 1, 2, 3, and 4 to do it.
So that's almost what I wanted to say.
Look at us media people looking all stupid now.
Exactly.
These teams.
That's almost what I wanted to say. Is that like before we even talk about Decatur Central, what have we seen from them?
Yeah.
We just have to point out that Concord, undefeated. Warsaw was their first loss. Lafayette Jefferson, undefeated. Warsaw was their first loss. Maryville did have 1 loss to Crown Point, one of the best teams in 6A. And then Warsaw was their second loss. Like it's almost like at this point for Warsaw, it's getting to this point where I don't really care about who they're almost matching up against because they've shown time and time again that they can match up with anybody in 5A.
And it's it's that thing about the triple option. We talked about a lot with just Niles now, where like if you are even enough with a team, that triple option can give you just enough of an edge. Like, they were probably even talent level with Lafayette, but if you're not seeing that type of offense or, same thing with Maryville, like I'm sure if Warsaw ran a normal, air quote, normal offense of like whatever, shotgun and things like, maybe maybe Maryville wins or maybe Lafayette wins. But if you aren't used to that flex bone offense, like it's hard to beat, it's hard to play against. And it takes a little while to get used to the speed of a team that does it so well, like Warsaw. So it is the year of the triple option. It's the year of the run offense up here. Not that like we've had huge passing teams in the past, but like to be so run heavy, like Warsaw, like Niles, and we'll talk North Judson here in a minute, but like it's impressive. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what the rankings are at this point. Like Warsaw has beaten every great team they were supposed to lose to. They've beaten them. So
yeah,
like, let's literally throw the records out, record books out the door, window, same thing.
And you kind of talked about it right there with Warsaw's offense, but I was wondering for you personally, you've seen both these teams, you've been following them this season. If you kind of like compare and contrast maybe like the Niles offense to the Warsaw offense in any kind of ways, because you just spent a lot of time talking about Niles offense. How does this Warsaw offense, even though they're running similar stuff, how is it maybe kind of different and differ from the way the Niles do it?
Obviously both like to take their time with this offense, but Warsaw definitely, they score a lot of points, but they're not like putting up the 50s and the 60s. Again, I think that's part of that is kind of the quality of the foe that's on their schedule, but like, Warsaw, I'm trying to pull up what their highest point total this year has been. I mean, they put up 56 on Goshen and Wawasee. But since then, like 42 on Northridge, 52 on Goshen again in the playoff. Like, pretty much only the bad teams are like kind of by default, they're putting up 50 on these guys. Where like, they're willing to play, 44 against Lafayette was a big number.
That number really, the Concord one, I know they played them close in the regular season, so I was surprised by that result, but it wasn't like shocking. 44 against Lafayette Jefferson. I mean, I saw Lafayette against South Bend Adams. I know maybe the best game there, but just seeing the kind of talent that Lafayette Jefferson had, I was not expecting 44 points. That was the number that kind of had my jaw on the floor.
Words. I don't. Sorry, I was trying to speak and then nothing was happening.
We need Sabrina here, I guess.
Just
us two. We need even to the third person.
We can't even get to the third team in this rundown. But no, I think without knowing the nuances of triple option, like Flexbone, talking with Scott Shaw last week from Niles, he was like, we run it a little different than Mishawaka. Mishawaka runs a little different than Warsaw. Like even though Mishawaka learned it pretty much from Bart Curtis, with Warsaw, like it's different. There's nuances to each offense and how they want to attack. Some throw it a little bit more than others, even so. They're similar, obviously, but to do it I know, like the 5A football in Indiana is bigger than 4A in Michigan. So to be able to run this, usually you run into a team that is just better than you. More times than not.
It's like the Notre Dame versus Army this past weekend, where it's just like at a certain point, the athlete just kind of takes over. It doesn't matter if you're
will that happen this weekend? Who knows? Like the same thing with Niles, right? Will Goodrich have more athletes, or will Decatur Central just have those guys that can stop you?
They make the incorrect read, they bite on the dive, and then the quarterback keeps it, but they're still just so quick and athletic. They can make up for it.
Right. They have guys that are just good enough athletes, and Decatur Central, credit to them, they beat a couple solid teams on this run. They beat East Central, the defending, two-time defending 4A state champs that, killed Northwood last year and North Prairie 2 years ago, playing up in 5A this year. And they beat Bloomington South in the semi-state, another really quality team. So, obviously, everyone's beating good teams. So we talked about Warsaw, so no, need to say anything there. No more there at least. But, does Decatur Central, can Warsaw implement its brand of football on a team like that? And if they can, they'll win, I think. So it feels like all these state finals kind of feel like toss-ups, and most are usually. Yeah. We'll talk about North Judson in a minute, but And so, this feels like another game where it could go either way, and with how Warsaw's been playing, who's going to tell them no, at this point, right? So.
I think that's another thing too, when we kind of mentioned it with the team of destiny with Niles aspect, and you not only have with Warsaw now, it really is apparent in terms of who's going to tell them no. That belief in yourself. And at this point in the season in high school football, that being able to line up against a team and just not be intimidated at all. That even if Warsaw lines up against Decatur Central and all the Decatur Central's offensive linemen and defensive linemen are a head taller than Warsaw's guys or whatever, if there's anything like that, if they're seeing anybody that's like, man, they look really good, Warsaw's not going to be intimidated at that point because they've played this gauntlet and gone through it and have back-to-back double-digit wins against top 3 teams that were ranked in their class.
Yeah.
At this point in the season, having that type of confidence, that belief in yourself, that knowing that maybe, you've played teams that are higher ranked and you've come out on top, that I think goes a long way, because sometimes in these big environments, we talk about the NFL stadiums. You're in Lucas Oil. It's a huge stadium. You've never played in this place this big. Right. People have been talking about this. They're putting you up with like the 1964 team, the 2001 team. Like, it becomes like this incredible thing. It can be real quick before it's all of a sudden the second quarter and the other team's out 14-0 and you're finally settling in. I think for a team like Warsaw that already has that confidence, they don't have to worry about that intimidation factor. And they can kind of settle in a little quicker, which that does make a big impact in these games because they're still same length of a game as any other game.
Yeah, and unless my research is failing me, which it might, Bart Curtis has not won a state title before. He went in 2012 with Michiana. They lost to, we talked about Terry McLaurin's Indy Cathedral School.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you're going to lose a game, right?
You saw that touchdown against the Cowboys? Yeah, that guy's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Just don't watch the extra point after that touchdown. Okay.
Hey, help my fantasy team already. That's it. Okay, that's the NFL talk for today.
Yeah. Prop the Cowboys even without Sabrina here. It's unbelievable. No, but yeah, so... Bart's been around a long time, man. Yeah. He's in the Hall of Fame already, in the Coaches Football Hall of Fame. He made turned New Prairie football from nothing into something, and that he laid the foundation for what was, what has happened since then. And then he built Mishawaka back up to what it's been, and he's literally took Warsaw. They've never won a postseason title before. Sectional champs in 19, and now here they are playing for a state title. I mean, like this guy builds it. Just yes, if you. I would say if you build it, he will come, but like he will come and then he will build it.
It's like where Bart goes, it will be built.
Yes. If you're looking to build something, Bart will build it for you. I'm really excited to see how many Warsaw fans go down there.
Of course.
I think Saturday is like, if I were to play Friday or Saturday, I would probably choose Saturday because with Thanksgiving on Thursday, people are traveling for holidays, and I've had to adjust my travel plans, accordingly because of this Niles team. So, not to go back to Niles, but like it's so Saturday is nice, 7 p.m. It's a late game, so it's gonna be a long night coming back. But hey, if you win, it's makes it a little easier, makes that travel a little easier.
And also too, I mean, the 7 p.m. has got to be nice for the teams.
Yeah,
just for
they're used to that.
Yeah, it's just it is Saturday instead of Friday, but it's still the same point of like 7 p.m. kickoff. That's what it basically is every single week.
It's not a 12:30, not 9:30 a.m. in Michigan, 9:30 a.m. first game on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, that's just
that's brutal.
Yeah, like getting your body maybe so we can't overstate that. It's just getting your body ready for when you're used to playing these games at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you're not. It's gotta be so weird.
And it's like you're so used. I mean, like I would be intrigued to see what those teams at 9:30 a.m. are trying. Like, what are they going to do to get their? They're obviously staying in Detroit Thursday night or Friday night. Like, there's no way you can drive that morning. Even Niles is staying Thursday night. Like, if you're playing Friday early, you probably are going to the city you're in. If you're a far drive, obviously the night before. So,
but when you get to this time of the year, you want to make sure everything is as similar as it possibly can be. In terms of like your pregame warm-ups, the pregame, just whatever, the bus ride, however similar you can kind of make it to just a normal game. That helps because of all the other theatrics going on around it. So having that 7 p.m. kickoff, I think, is pretty nice just for both teams.
And just again, a quick note on Niles because I'm thinking about it. Probably slightly helps their cause that they and Goodrich both played 1 p.m. games Saturday. So like 12:30 is. It's half hour earlier, but it might not probably start to 1 anyway. But the first game,
you never know.
So but Warsaw's probably got a good familiarity, even though it is Saturday night. But it's a 7 p.m. game. They'll probably go down Saturday morning, and I doubt they get a hotel Friday night unless they really want to.
Just like a longer road trip, just to kind of get down there.
They played Warren Central, I believe, week 2. Was it at Warren Central? They went to Warren Central in Indy week 2. So like. It's a very similar drive to get to Lucas Oil, so to both in Indianapolis. So
I'm just curious for you in your research for this game if you had a chance to look at anything with Decatur Central, anything in particular.
Other than just their schedule. I mean, I haven't done too much research other than just their schedule. And again, they play a lot of good teams. Again, they beat Bloomington South, they beat East Central in the playoff run. They play in a pretty good conference. Like Martinsville was one of their losses, and Martinsville was in the 4A semi-state this year. Columbus North was a good 6A team they lost to. So those are only 2 losses that are really good losses, and Martinsville was by 1 point. So
I mean, at this point, and we just keep saying, but at this point in the year, especially, and also for Decatur Central coming from where they're at in the state and the conference they play in, it's like.
This is their second state trip for what it's worth. They went in 2018, at least under this coach, Kyle Enright, 80 and 27 in 5 years, or 9 years, sorry. 5 years would have been crazy to play a lot of games.
Really crazy.
A lot of games. But no, they went in 2018. They lost the state finals in 4A to New Pal. New Pal's playing for the 4A state title again this year. They've been one of the state's best programs, period, at any level. So, I mean, again, it just feels like a toss-up game again. Like, Decatur's got some great wins, but I don't know too much about them personally to give a great breakdown of the film, tape here. Yeah. So, yeah, but
Warsaw, like where they're coming from, it's right.
Again, the triple option, man. If that is something Decatur doesn't see, and it could be a great equalizer of their talent, And
that could be a great thing that I talk about with Warsaw in terms of the theatrics of you get behind, you're not intimidated, so maybe it takes a second to kind of catch up, and obviously you're down 14-0 in the first quarter. I've seen teams like that.
Right.
It's like in a state championship game that could work for Warsaw, where it's the first couple of drives, Decatur's we've been practicing the trip. We're not used to the triple. It's our first time seeing it. Right. All of a sudden, that allows Warsaw to get a quick start, and man, it just bears repeating the saying, these state championship games are the same length and everything. I know we built up to it, but it's just another game. Mm-hmm. So getting out to a quick start in these things, getting those nerves taken care of is so huge, especially at just the high school level.
Yeah. All right, should we talk North Judson?
I think we should.
Yeah.
North Judson, that's our other
46-0.
Yes. They didn't put up 70.
Adams.
They did not put up 70 points.
No.
So that was, I guess, a little disappointing for them.
By the way, they have completed 6 passes in their 5 playoff games.
Really?
And they have steamrolled everybody. They're at 5,498 rushing yards on the season. I thought Niles at 4,200 was really impressive for this season. Niles is 4,200 exactly.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But wait, so how many yards is North Judson?
5,498 rushing yards.
So theoretically, they could have 2,000-yard rushers and a 1,000-yard
they are at Cole Wilcox 1,942, Benson 1,552, Jay McDaniel 1,039. So 3 guys over 1,000 yards. Yes,
that doesn't happen ever.
Brock Benson, by the way, for posterity's sake, and I'm trying to pull up the other guy's first name. I feel bad, but yeah, Jay McDaniel, not related. Josiah McDaniel. Yes, sorry, this Max Preps app is not fun. Anyway, they run the ball a lot. They run it very well.
They're very good.
Have obliterated everybody. When John Harrell does his state football predictions, he usually keeps the game within 1 score. If you look at the predictions he's made for the 6 finals, all 5 of the 6 are 1-score games. He has North Judson 38-24 in his projection, which would be closest game that they've played all year. So
yeah, that's.
I think that's a tip of the cap to how good North Judson is. That he didn't pick just a 38-31 or 38-34. He thinks North Judson is that much ahead of Providence. And Providence, look, 13-0. They're undefeated just like North Judson. They have won in very dominant fashions as well throughout the year. They were probably clearly the second best 1A team in the state. For me, when I was doing my poll every week in the regular season, it was okay, North Judson 1, Providence 2.
Go from there.
And then, it's 3 through 10 could be any order at this point. It didn't really feel like it mattered, especially because North-South, okay, it's just going to be these 2. Mm-hmm. And here they are, 14-0 versus 13-0. Providence, I think, had one of their games. Remember that week 2 where the weather was all terrible?
Yes, the weather was
Some teams got a game in, some teams didn't. Warsaw's 10-3, Decatur Central's 10-2. Decatur didn't get that week 2 game in, Warsaw did. So there's, but regardless, 27-0 combined between these 2 teams.
That's ridiculous.
It's the only state final with 2 undefeated teams going at it. So guaranteed at least 1 undefeated state champion this year. And look, again, we've talked so much about what this North Judson team is and what they could be if they win this game, and the Pioneer,
the historical aspect of it.
Right, the Pioneer, Kaiser teams. Those Kaiser teams, I think, would beat this. I mean, it's a Division I college football player. I don't think North Judson's been incredible, but I think Pioneer would have won those games against North Judson. But that doesn't take away anything from what North Judson is doing right now with this run. So
it doesn't. Yeah, this is still going to go down as. I mean, if they go 15-0, winning a state title by multiple, every win by double digits.
If they win by 20 plus for Saturday afternoon, 12:30, Saturday afternoon, it goes down as one of the best 1A runs in recent history at a minimum.
I mean, it has to go down as one of the best runs ever.
Especially for a public school. Like, Indy Lutheran's won 3 in a row, the 1A level.
Yeah, it's...
You know, like, private schools can tend to dominate 1A and 2A.
Because they can kind of... They can do their own thing.
Yeah.
This is a community. This is a North Judson, St. Pierre. This is their community team.
And they've been like, painfully close to winning it. I mean, they've won, I think, one in the past, but they've been so close, like, historically speaking. Like... They can't get any closer than sometimes they've been, and so I think this is like everything coming together year for them.
This is just one of those, like, they've already put up 70 points twice in this playoff run. That, like, I get maybe sometimes the draw at one point you'll have one game where at the first round games, like, you know, you're just over the match. I get that. Still putting up 70s against, that's still pretty impressive. But 70 points twice in a playoff run, that doesn't ever happen.
I apologize, by the way. They have not won a state championship before. They are very close. They were in the finals in 84 and 86. So this would be historic for North Judson. Again, they've been very close. They have won, like, 9, 10 different regional championships, 15 give or take sectionals. I'm just looking at the John Harrell website, not looking at the raw numbers. 2 semi-state titles, right? They've been knocking on the proverbial door. They went to state in 80, right? 84, 86, and so close, close. And so this would be, it just feels like this is the year where it's all coming together for them, and it'd be really cool to kind of see him pull it out and finish this thing off. And yeah, it would. I don't know. It should be kind of cool. Like, like 15-0 too just looks awesome.
That's such a great record. It's just like an incredible
And like I would love for them to like print the point differential on the shirt. You know what I mean? Like really like 600 to 35. On the shirt, like, would be awesome to look at.
Wait, what number did you just say?
I said 35. 600.
Yeah.
Add 600.
Add another 100.
Oh my God, they're at 700 points.
So I'm on max preps just right now. It's just
okay, yeah.
Points 4757.
Well, how many have they allowed up?
100 exact.
757 to 100. Dang.
Yeah.
They have put up 657 more points.
Yes.
How many touchdowns is that approximately? Let's do 657.
Dude, and that's the thing.
Divided by 6.
Yeah.
It's 109 and a half more touchdowns.
That's the thing when we talk about North Judson, and almost when, like, I really want to just kind of focus on them. It's just because I think throughout the season we would just kind of be like, oh, North Judson, they just rolled. They just rolled, and this is the most impressive run we are seeing in Indiana football right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this senior class specifically, they've been in a semi-state 3 years in a row, and then they get to the state this year. No matter what happens on Saturday, that's an incredible 4 years. They ran into a really good Adams Central team that's playing for a 2A state title this week. They don't have to see Indy Lutheran, so good for them finally. Linton Stockton pulled an upset down there. Well, anyway, that's a good sidetrack. But North Judson, this is an incredible senior class that's won a lot of games. And again, they've been knocking on that proverbial door forever, and they haven't won. And so to see them potentially get this would be really, really cool. And, obviously it would mean a lot to a lot of people out there to finally get the big trophy to come home, at least the big football trophy.
Exactly. I mean, 6 shutouts so far this season. This is a team that, man, you don't find runs like this. Like this,
No.
this is one of those seasons that we mentioned historic, we mentioned those pioneer teams. This is just one of those seasons where I think in college football we talk about it a lot. With like 2019 LSU, 2001 Miami. Like
right.
We kind of like pick out some of these teams that like. Are like not when a team wins a national championship, are they the best team ever? And like, they won a national championship, but like they're not 2019 LSU or something like that.
Right.
Or a team like this is North Judson is going to like enter those types of conversations for Indiana high school football. Of okay, they win the state title, but not just that. It's 2024 North Judson is going to be like a barometer for if you win like. They're better than most state title teams ever will be.
Definitely in the conversation for the best 1A team of all time.
That's and
especially if they cap this off with a big win in the state final, they're going to be in that discussion 100%.
If they win this game with another big win, we're talking that their closest games were
Knox week 1,
which they still beat by
week 2.
They still beat Knox by 21 points in week 1. That's a really good 3A school.
Yeah. I mean, like we've talked about this. I think they would win 2A this year. I think they would beat either Adams Central or Linton Stockton. I think the 3A game would be interesting. against Bishop Lours, or I forgot who Lours is playing in 3A, but they could easily, I think, win 2A or 3A. You get to 4A, then we get a little interesting there. I don't know if they would win 4A, but they would definitely be in the mix for 2A and 3A, I think.
These are schools, it's Lours versus Heritage Hills.
They would have given. If you want to do the transitive property thing with the 3A scene, you ready here for this? So, Garrett only beat Knox by 1. North Judson beat Knox by 21, and then Garrett lost to Lours. So if you want to do that weird math, transitive property, like maybe North Judson could have beaten Lours. I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of math that has to go involved in there. But
it's more so just the fact that that conversation
can be had.
We can have that conversation, and it's a legitimate conversation.
Yeah, it's not just us being ignorant or whatever, like it's stupid. Like we're really
If you ask any like Indiana high school coaches, and they'd be like they think about it, and they would be saying the similar things.
Yeah,
that's the level that North Judson's reached. So that game, really excited for that. Really excited to kind of see if North Judson can make it 15-0.
Yeah,
get
it would be awesome.
Another huge win, and
excuse me,
just do something that we might not see again for a while or if ever.
The greater Michiana area has been kind of starved for football. I mean, Pioneer, but I don't know if as far as South Bend teams, we don't cover North Judson, but really other than Pioneer, the late 2010s, we haven't had a real state champion in this area in a long time. Penn's been on a drought, Northwood, it was since 2005, really. Northwood and Jimtown won the same year, and then we really haven't done much. I don't think Pioneer counts necessarily as a Michiana.
It's tough, yeah.
It's just south. And North Judson's right on the line, too.
Of course,
depending on what your lines are, so these are but this is, and Warsaw is probably I would say safely in the Michiana.
Yeah, I think they're safely.
Area, definitely northern Indiana, but this middle north central Indiana part, not necessarily the west, the region, or the east and Fort Wayne area. We haven't had a state champion really in 20 years, so it'd be nice to get one and kind of get off the schneid, unless you count those Pioneer teams. But if you don't, then we haven't had one since 2005. Jimtown and Northwood in the same year. And then we're 0-15 or 0-16 in that stretch.
Yeah, we
had 3 go in 2011, and none of them won.
It's crazy to hear that stat, because when we go back into the research of how many teams have made it to these state title games, this program, it's just a lot of programs getting there.
It's just they get there, they just maybe don't win. So hold on, I'm trying to find. I know I had a note on this last year. I had a Northwood going to state. I was like, this has got to be. Here we go. Yeah, so 0-15, including Northwood last year. Wow. In 2011, Penn, Washington, and St. Joe all went, and none of them won. So we're long overdue. Long overdue for a state champion. We've had a team now go 4 years in a row, including the 2 this year. So please?
Yeah, please. There we go. And I think North Judson, like you kind of mentioned the John Harrell rankings, I think they're the biggest favorite. They're the biggest favorite
this weekend
in any of the Indiana state championship games.
Absolutely. All right, do we want to talk about sad Mishawaka for a couple minutes?
I want to talk about Mishawaka for a little bit, because even though they lost this past week, still an incredible run for the Cavemen. It's just an incredible season.
Great effort. 2 turnovers end up being the difference in the game. A fumble in the second quarter when they're driving to probably go up 14-6. And then, late game, they're down 5 and they threw a pick. And, Keith Kinder, the coach, kind of said it looked like he was trying to maybe throw the ball away, but then quarterback Landon Snyder got hit. And so it doesn't go fully out of bounds, and it goes into the East Noble guy's hands, and it's an interception. And that was, technically Mishawaka got the ball back with 5 seconds left, and they tried doing the pitchy woo-woo play, as Scott Van Pelt likes to call it, and didn't work. They actually did it twice. The first time there was penalties on the play, and so it was offsetting, and I didn't realize offsetting penalties meant you redid the play.
Yes, you just kind of redo it. It's nothing even happened.
It was it was just, so they had to do the pitchy woo-woo play twice. They had it was 2 different plays. I'll give them credit. They had 2 plays ready to go.
That's impressive to have 2 of those, because usually you just have one of them in the playbook.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe they were just kind of drawing it up, in this, in the dirt.
They probably were. They probably were, honestly.
You run this way, I'll run this way.
Hey, Snyder brothers, do that telepathic Snyder brother thing again.
Just to find yourself on the field, just do it.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I mean, a tough loss, obviously. Like, it was such a weird game where Mishawaka got the ball and they score, and it's like it was a great opening drive, and then East Noble gets the ball right back, and they go down 11 plays and score. If they missed, the extra point was blocked, and that ends up changing how the whole game kind of goes with like chasing points, and Mishawaka fumbles, East Noble gets the ball, scores, misses the 2-point. Mishawaka gets the ball, the third quarter, they score. There weren't many possessions in this game. Both teams ran the ball. I think there was 5 combined passes maybe in the game.
Yeah.
Mishawaka threw it twice that I can remember outside of the pitchy woo-woo play. That was technically a completed pass to start it. And then, they had the touchdown pass, and then they had an interception. That was pretty much it. And East Noble only threw 3 or 4. I mean, the misting rain kind of was really annoying on Friday. So neither team throws first anyway, and so they were like, let's just run the ball. So a lot of runs, and it was just kind of a bizarre game where, like, first off, it felt like if you're looking at want to see what both spectrums of triple option offense can do, one game 18-13 was like very triple option, like low scoring, weird score because like the extra points weren't going in, and and then you saw Niles put up 62 exactly. like the next day, like. If you're wondering though what the spectrum of triple option,
extremes.
Yeah. So 18-13 is just a
weird score.
Maybe it's a scoreagami.
Yeah, it's true.
Like it's just a weird looking score. But I mean, Mishawaka played. I don't even think Mishawaka played bad. It wasn't like they were making a lot of mistakes. I mean, they moved the ball pretty much every time they had it. I think they only had one punt late in the first half, and other than that, like that triple option was running. Caden O'Neill had a really nice game. Caden Smith scored both touchdowns. I thought Landon Snyder played well. Like, East Noble just has some really good players. Dylan Krell, chief among them, was a beast. It felt like they were calling his name for every tackle, and he ran the ball like 30 times as well. Like, he was just everywhere. It felt like, which is what he's been doing all year for them. So. It just kind of came down to, like, because of those 2 turnovers, like, that was really ended up being the difference. And, it's a bummer when that happens. Like, both teams, I think, played fairly even. There's probably a couple plays that East Noble wish they had back, but they didn't cough the ball up. They turned it over on downs, I think, once or twice. But other than that, like, it's a pretty clean game, all things considered, for them. So, just a tough way for it to end for Mishawaka. You knew it was going to be a close game. And it was going to come down to those fine details, small things here and there. And, unfortunately, Mishawaka was the one that made the 2 mistakes, and that ended up being the difference. Yeah, I mean, when you look at Mishawaka, too, just like, tough end of this season, but just looking at their season as a whole, it really is kind of incredible to kind of like see these different wins, the way they're like their playoff run, able to beat Northwood by 1, that New Prairie win by a couple touchdowns. Yeah. And also, too, just something that when you look at their season, they ended 11-3. Look at who those 3 losses are against, and look at the quality of teams that they were playing against. I mean, at Concord in week 3, they lost by 1 point. Because they went for 2, and they could have won the game. Exactly. Yeah. They went for 2, so they went for the win. I mean, by 1 point to a team that, we've talked about it all year long, but an undefeated team that was one of the best teams in 5A. And they lost at Warsaw by 8. The team that's now in the state championship, and then they lose to East Noble, a team, again, one of the better teams now in the state championship. So I think when you look at this Mishawaka team, 11-3, fantastic season, of course, but man, like this was an incredible squad that even against some of the best teams that you can see in Indiana, they went toe-to-toe with. That resume might get you in the college football playoff. If they were, I have such a college football playoff brain right now. 7-2, they would have earned an at-large bid for sure. Exactly, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I have such a college football playoff brain right now. I'm thinking like quality losses, things like both those regular season losses were on the road.
The road by 1 score, by 1 point against teams that in 5A are going, in some of the best in the state.
Warsaw beat Concord to get through the 5A, through their 5A state title path.
It's a team that it's tough to see it end, but man, like that was quite the season for Mishawaka.
And like the two leading rushers were sophomores, Landon Snyder and Caden O'Neill. So you're going to have those 2 back for next year at a minimum. Obviously, guys up front graduate. Defensive, there's a lot of defensive guys that graduate. So fixing that defense next year will be priority number 1. It'll be the opposite of what it was this year, where it was like you got to fix the offense or learn the offense, guys, and now this upcoming year, it'll be more about the defense. But yeah, and that's okay. we sound like broken records doing this, but we talk about programs that have kind of earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And like, Mishawaka will be back like next year. They'll be ready to go. Like, there's no doubt, like, really in anyone's mind, they will be in the mix. New Prairie will be in the mix. Concord will be in the, Northwood, Penn. Warsaw's even gaining some of that credibility now. North Judson as well. Like, they are always going to kind of be there. Like, yes, teams might come up and surprise you, with random seasons, but like death, taxes, and those 6, schools, you can kind of just guarantee they're going to be competitive at least. At
the very least. Yeah, so, like even a team like, we mentioned like Northwood right there. I mean, like they had their issues this season. They were within 1 point of Mishawaka in the playoff.
They arguably deserved to win that game against Mishawaka.
Like that's so you're so right with that. Yeah. But I mean, man, just incredible that we're week 15. Got to talk about 3 different teams.
15,
and
it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. We'll have coverage all throughout this week. You with the South Bend Tribune, me with WNDU, kind of previewing these games, and then once the games happen, of course, we'll have highlights. You'll have game recaps, just kind of everything you need to know.
I'll be at Ford Field Friday afternoon.
There you go.
Live coverage of Niles and Goodrich.
There we go.
Not to be confused with the tire company.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was like.
I mean, they're located an hour north of Detroit. It would make sense if they were named. The city was named after. Also they're called the Goodrich Martians. The Martians are their
really
name. Yeah, and their logo is like a Spartan helmet with the word Martians like as like the feathers, like on a.
See, I would have liked like a little green guy.
Yeah, you would have thought like Martian the Manhunter, right? Or the character in the Disney shows.
Yeah,
the Martian, not Manhunter is like the Marvel villain.
Yeah. I'm forgetting the name. It's like the old cartoon.
I could see it.
Yeah, the old cartoon.
Yeah.
But okay, so yeah. Well, that's our
that's our Martian talk.
That's our Martian talk for today. But yeah, so you can find all the coverage throughout this week with South Bend Tribune and WNDU, and then we'll be back next week to kind of recap what happens. Hopefully, 3 winners. Hopefully, that'd be real fun.
I think North Judson, and then it's toss-ups at Niles and Warsaw.
So I'm gonna, hopefully 3 winners. We'll talk about that next week, and then pretty soon we'll be getting into basketball. But first, we'll have to wrap up football. It's crazy awesome.
Boys basketball games have officially begun this week.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for watching, and make sure to check out all of our content throughout this week. We'll see you next week.